This is 1992's Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. So we actually had a little bit of technical difficulties. Mark's camera actually went down. So from the I think at the ending of part 1 and all of part 2, you're not getting a Mark cam. You're just going to get the wide shot, and then you're going to get my camera.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because, unfortunately, yeah. There's just no way. Shit happens.
Yep.
You know, we get technical difficulties. Sometimes the cameras go down from time to time. It is what it is.
Yeah, you know why? Because you haven't sponsored us yet.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. We don't have. If we had the money, we'd have a camera guy behind the cameras, and they would have caught that. We would have producers on set. Yeah. All right. Oh well, it is what it is. Moving on. This is Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. I have this at number 6.
Number 5.
Oh, wow. We're actually pretty close. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of a mid pick for me. Yeah. It's not good. I want to stress, I don't really like any of these movies. Like, I think the first one's pretty good. Yep. I think one of the other ones is pretty good. That's about it.
Yeah, it's important to note, and I think you and I talked a little bit about this before we started. We're ranking these movies against each other, but not necessarily against other movies. Right. So there has to be a best and a worst within the series.
Right.
But the series itself is not strong. Right?
No. So like this is a mid pick for me. And it's a mid pick because there's elements that are so bad that I was having fun because they're so bad.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We'll get to those.
Yep.
A quick note I have, they reused the poster from part 1. I don't know if you noticed this.
Oh, is it actually the same?
It's the exact same poster. It's the exact same poster. So Hellraiser 1 and Hellraiser 3 use the exact same image of Pinhead.
I mean, to be fair, it is a pretty iconic picture, but to just go and lift the same image.
Apparently, the reason was they had another cool image, but they couldn't get it approved. They had like some other violent poster they were going to go with, and they couldn't get it approved. So they were like, well, fuck, we got to use something.
We need something.
So they just used, there you go, Hellraiser 3.
Wow.
That's so fucking, it's so lame.
All right.
Yeah. Much like the film itself. That's a good omen, isn't it? So we got a tease at the end. Let's get into the plot. We got a tease at the end of part 2 where there was like in Chenard's like mansion, the remains of the aftermath of part 2. There's like the mattress in Chenard's mansion, and like these Christy and Tiffany walk off into the sunset, and then these like cleaners show up, and then you see this pillar burst out of the mattress, and like Pinhead's in the pillar, and it's like there's like a tease, and it's like what, and then that vagrant from part 1 is in the pillar, and he's like, "What is your pleasure?" I don't know what the fuck's going on, but that teased the ending, or that teased the potential sequel, I guess. And so now we're into part 3, and it epically opens with white text on a black background.
Epic.
Apparently, this is going to be a series staple because they do this in most of these films, unfortunately. The film then actually opens with a new character, J.P. Monroe. Who's Mr. Joe Coolio? What are you laughing at?
Does he go on our
cool guy list?
Our Turk list of
I would
detestable, awesome male characters?
I would absolutely. JP definitely belongs on that list.
Yeah.
I'm gonna gush about JP a little bit later. So JP's like he's like this young guy, good looking guy, Mr. Coolio, and he's shopping in a high end like art gallery.
Yes.
And he's looking for a new piece for his bachelor pad. One item in particular catches his eye. It's this giant stone statue. It's like a pillar of souls, which features both Pinhead and the lament box in it. So is this supposed to be what the wooden pillar at the end of part 1 turned into?
I think so.
Like that was my interpretation.
Maybe not that specific one, but a version of.
What happened to those moving guys?
Well, one of them gets absolutely destroyed by if I remember correctly. Like,
I thought it just showed up and then the guys were just like, oh, and then it
Yeah.
ended. I don't remember them getting killed. Maybe.
well, I don't think they show it, but I think the implication is that
so.
these
Then
guys
they got
are,
absorbed and then
Yeah.
it turned into stone, whatever. So this is a
Remember,
direct.
part two
again,
sucks. Remember?
This is a direct sequel again. So then this homeless guy, because there's a recurrent theme of like these vagrants that for some reason are connected to the box and they act as like the box's caretaker on Earth.
Right.
Sure. And he's like, he strikes a deal with JP Monroe and he's like, just pay me what you think it's worth. You know, it's just like
Never a good offer,
it's
right?
not ominous at all. Cut to our new female protagonist, Joey Summers, played by Terry Farrell.
Terry Farrell?
Farrell. Do you know her from something?
Yeah. Dude, you're going to have to hand in your nerd card here. She was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Yeah. Jadzia Dax.
I don't know Star Trek.
buddy.
I wouldn't get Trek
Come on.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the main character on a show that
I
lasted
think you're
for-
going to have to hand in your coolness card because you just gave it up right there.
What coolness card?
Yeah. You wouldn't be in that cool
No.
guy group with JP
No.
and Turk. Dude, she was in DS9.
And I wouldn't even call. Here's the thing. I wouldn't call myself a Star Trek fan.
But that still blows my mind you knew that.
No,
That's
I mean,
like a weird
Yeah.
pull. Good for you.
Is it?
Good for you, Mark Skews.
All right.
Good for
Okay.
you.
No. Tell us in the comments which one of us is on the right here. Like, should you know who this is? Like, I feel like she was famous enough that you should recognize.
Should you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark seems to think so.
Tell us.
Yeah,
please bail me out here because now I'm feeling like I'm the only one that would get this reference.
All right,
Yeah.
Terry. Sorry, how did you pronounce it?
Terry Farrell? I
Terry
think it's
Farrell?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So she's our new protagonist, and she's like at a hospital, and she's disappointed by like some lame story she's covering. And then her cameraman, Doc, he like gets a call, and he has to rush off to cover some other story. And just then, a man is rushed into the emergency on a stretcher with multiple chains sticking out of him. Ooh, we've seen this before. They attempt to help him, but the chains come to life and tear him apart exactly like Frank gets torn apart in part 1. So then there's this other woman who comes in with the guy on the stretcher, and Joey speaks with her, and she's like clearly shook up, and she reveals that they just met. So it's like it wasn't her boyfriend. It was like some guy she just met at a club called the Boiler Room, which then Joey goes to investigate, which brings her face to face with Mr. Coolio, JP Monroe, who we met earlier. And it turns out JP actually owns the club, and there's this little like nothing interaction between the two of them. Nothing really comes out of it. We're then treated to flashes of combat in like a war, and it's like a dream sequence, and Joey's dressed she's got like a long white dress on, and she's watching horrified as like some guy gets left behind. I cannot stand the pointless white dress dream sequences.
Right.
This is used in everything. This trope needs to stop. Put people in white. It's weird. It's ethereal.
We have to make it clear that this is the character who's seeing all of this happen,
right?
But they're not actually there and part.
But that's not how dreams work.
Right. Yeah.
But in dreams, you're just like in the thing.
Yeah.
You're not just like some third person perspective. Wearing all white. Yeah, I know. I get it's visual.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Stop doing it.
It is stupid.
Yeah. So apparently she made some impression at the from the girl at the club, because the girl she met at the hospital. So apparently, I don't know, somehow she made some impression on her, because then she just like shows up and she's like, yeah, I'll be interviewed. It's like, as long as I can crash here. It's like, I don't know. Okay. She's like some transient girl. It's like, they don't give her a ton of character. So then she shows up at Joey's apartment, and then Joey starts like opening up about her, they immediately start like opening up to one another. It's like, okay, sure. I guess she's doing this to like maybe disarm the girl. I think her name is Terry.
Terry is the
She's like trying to like lower Terry's guard. So Joey starts talking about like the Vietnam nightmare like that she just had, and it turns out it's her father that was in the nightmare. So that's why her father died in Vietnam. So she has this recurring nightmare. And Joey then starts to question her, and Terry reveals the Lament puzzle box. But it's like a piece of the stone pillar. So it's like a stone version of the puzzle box that the guy broke off of JP's statue. Yep. Sure. Okay, why not? Back at the club, JP actually notices the chunk missing, and he hears something inside. So what does he do? He reaches his arm inside, which would anyone
ever, if there's lessons to be learned,
like, would anyone ever do this in real life? If like there was a dark hole and you hear something, you're like, oh, I just got to reach my arm in that.
I just got faces sticking out of it.
Yeah. Like, okay, sure. So he reaches his arm in, and then like a rat attacks him. This like killer rat clamps onto his hand. He starts like freaking out, and he splatters blood all over the pillar, which causes the pillar to come to life and absorb the blood. JP's reaction? Whoa. Club Girl then takes Joey to the art gallery where JP got the statue, but it's closed. And in fact, it's been closed for over a month.
Yeah.
So who did JP? Who was the guy that JP bought this statue from? Interesting. So they break in and just start snooping around, and they discover that all of the contents at the gallery it is from like estate sales and things they recovered from places. Right. So it's like places that got shut down, and that's all of the things that you find in there, including a certain mental institution which got shut down at the end of part 2. So that's where all of these items came from that were in the gallery. Did they ever explain why the owner was just gone though? Like seemingly he wasn't. I don't know.
Of the gallery?
Yeah.
Like why maybe he was never there.
Well, no, because the guy was like, oh yeah, he's on vacation.
Or maybe he was on vacation.
In hell? He was in the hell world. Cut back to the club where JP picks up a hot blonde and takes her back to his penthouse above the bar to fuck. Afterwards, JP tells her to beat it, and she is understandably upset. She backs into the pillar, which activates, shooting chains into her and absorbing her into the pillar itself. Like similar to how Frank and Julia would absorb their victims. The pillar is now doing this. Doug Bradley's full Pinhead is now revealed in the pillar and begins to speak to Monroe, discussing the morality of him killing the girl. JP isn't having any of it and pulls a gun before shooting Pinhead. Pinhead spits the bullets right back out and begins to try to attempt to have a civilized conversation with JP, which is a very funny exchange. Yeah. Joey gets her hands on the police interview. I liked this touch. And Kirsty shouldn't have been in part 2. This would have been a neater touch. So Joey gets her hands on the police interviews, which I guess were from the what you didn't see, but they would kind of be the beginning of part 2, like Hellraiser 2. And it's her interrogations where she starts talking about the Cenobites and basically giving you a lore dump for the audience's benefit, but also for Joey's benefit.
Yeah, they would have taken place sort of after part 1 when, they come upon the house where all of this madness went down, and they're asking her, probably trying to figure out if she's responsible for this, because again, the story that she tells, no one's going to believe, right?
So I believe her, Mark.
Yeah?
I would believe her. Because I've seen all these horror films, I'd be like, that's possible.
That's possible.
Yeah.
That's likely.
You definitely have a Cenobite problem. Yeah. I've heard of this before.
What you got there? It's a Cenobite problem.
It's a Cenobite issue, yeah. Little Cenobite infestation, yeah. So then the screen that she's watching, like the transmission starts to go all wonky, and Doug Bradley's human form shows up, and he's like, she's telling the truth, Joey. And he starts talking to her. This becomes a thing where she keeps having visions of, you said his name, Elliot Spencer, which is Pinhead's human form, like pre-Pinhead form. So, fearing she has no other options, Terry, the girl from earlier, goes back to see JP, and then they have like some weird little exchange, and then JP tries to feed her to the pillar.
Yep.
But she like holds her own and decks him with brass knuckles, and then she's about to leave, but then Pinhead talks her down, and Pinhead, this is they add a new piece to the lore now. The Cenobites somehow know everything about all of us, because he starts like talking to her about like her life. And also before that, there's another scene where Pinhead, like, they hint that JP like killed his parents.
Oh, how touching. That is the gun you used to kill your parents. Oh, I understand. Their fortune was so tempting, their affection so conditional. What else could you do?
That's the gun you used to kill your parents, JP.
Oh, okay, I didn't catch that.
And I was like, what? I was like, how do you know this?
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess now the Cenobites are all-knowing beings, even though it's like a guy that's been in a hell world for a couple decades. Like, I guess they somehow know things. Sure, new lore.
Yep.
So then Terry feeds JP to Pinhead, causing the pillar to come to life and explode, revealing a reborn Pinhead. He's no longer trapped in the statue. Joey then somehow steps into a moment in time where human Pinhead speaks to her, where he reveals he's the ghost of Elliot Spencer, Pinhead's human form. He also reveals we're an hour into this film and it's still really lame. No, he tells her about the Hell World, reveals his origin as Pinhead. He also explains that the Pinhead in our world is the evil side of him.
Yeah.
Well, the ghost she's talking to is Elliot Spencer's soul. What is going on? So it's up to Joey to send Pinhead back to hell with the puzzle cube before Pinhead can destroy the box and permanently free himself to rain chaos on our world.
Yep.
I mean, it's a mid-pick. Yeah. There's not a lot I like. Yeah. The things I like ironically, not because they were meant to be.
Yeah. Good. So I think the reason why you're probably wondering, well, why do I like this one better than part 2? Right?
Because it's stupid and you're laughing at it?
Yeah, yeah. So this one knew, you know what? We know what we're going to do with this one. It is totally cheesy. This one's fun in a way that like the original Hellraiser was not, right? I wouldn't say that this would have made a better follow-up to the original because...
No, if this had come after the first one, everyone would just be like, "Oh, 3."
But you know, you can get away with that. I mean, look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? First one very serious. The
2
second
goes
one
off the rails.
Absolutely
line
crazy,
of cocaine.
Right?
Yep.
This one's fun. When I started watching it, I realized very early on, as soon as we get our JP Monroe character, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I know what I'm in for. Turn your brain off for this one. Just sit back, and especially the final act of this movie is just ridiculous in a way that's just like
nonsense.
Okay,
well,
right.
Let's get into the protagonist.
Yep.
I'm probably still scarred from Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. That's the Kim character, the reporter character, but like. I just don't give a shit about the archetype of like, I'm just this young reporter trying to make a name for myself.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a basic bullshit trope. And I just don't care about Joey. At one point, she doesn't even seem to like being a reporter. Like at one point, she's like, when she's researching with Terry, they're like going through all those records. She's like, this is going to take forever.
This is going to take forever.
Yeah, doing research, like being a reporter.
This is what you're getting into.
Yeah, you mean the thing that you apparently want to do? You're calling?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Her character is just kind of whatever. Like, it's such a basic, like, bland motivation. And, like, why does Elliot, like, what is special about her? I had this thought. Why her? Like, as Elliot Spencer contacts her, here's my question. Why the fuck aren't you contacting Kirsty?
Yeah.
Kirsty's still alive. She just walks into the sunset. But instead, Elliot Spencer's like, no, I better contact someone else. Kirsty's been through enough shit. Why?
Especially since
why the fuck?
They've kind of established that once you've opened the box and they are after you, they will not stop coming after you, right? So if Kirsty would have made more sense because they're still actively pursuing her, right? They still
they don't really establish that in this one. No, you're thinking of, they establish that later on.
I guess.
It's not,
Yeah.
I guess you are kind of thinking of the second one. Yeah,
Well-
sorry, that isn't the second one. Yeah, in the second one, they're like, you didn't think you could escape from us that easily.
Well, yeah, I
they
remember
don't
in the
say
first
that.
one, like the whole reason why Pinhead takes the deal to begin with is because she trades
The guy who got away.
Yeah.
But
right?
again, even that makes no sense. How does he get away?
Well, yeah. I mean, you could be everywhere.
Like,
So
how
just
do
go
you
get him.
get away
Yeah.
from the Cenobites?
Yeah.
Like, sure, don't they have your soul?
Yeah.
How does Frank escape? Clive Barker, give us the answers. All right,
You're
comment
obviously
below. You
obviously you're going to
know.
watch this. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to watch this. Nobody's going to watch this.
So I think Joey sucks. I don't know. What's
Yeah.
your feeling on Joey?
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel like Terry. This is another instance of the movie directing our attention towards the wrong character.
I
right?
agree, but
Yeah.
it's not the character that you recommend.
Yeah. Well, no, between the two of them, right? Like if one of those two has to be like our final girl / focus to drive the plot
Terry
forward.
was slightly more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she still sucks too, but
Joey actually gives us. So Joey, this is the first time Pinhead is named in the series. It's Joey.
yeah.
Play with this Pinhead.
She earned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she earned that. She totally deserved to name this creature for all time.
But hey, I mean, if it was going to happen in any one of these movies, it might as well be the cheesy slasher one. This is a slasher. Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, this is definitely a slasher.
Yeah.
I think they should have followed J.P. Monroe.
Well, he's more like Julia.
He's more
Right.
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
he's the Frank character.
Yeah.
He's the Frank
He's
character.
the Frank. He's the Chenard. He's the Julia.
He is fitting that archetype
Yeah.
of the guy who's just like, he wants it all kind of thing.
And I don't care who I have to step over to get it.
But I think there's something interesting about him. Like
Yeah.
he's built his own little world. I like
Yeah.
it. Like he's got like this sweet private penthouse above the club.
the dance club that he owns.
Yeah. And he's built his own little empire. Like, I don't know. I respect J.P. Monroe. He kind of came from,
Respect.
I don't know. I like J.P. Monroe.
Yeah.
I love the fact that like, so the first time he actually sees Pinhead, what's his reaction?
You will help me to.
No. No fucking way, man. No fucking way.
I need your help. He's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
And like, and I like that he's not intimidated by a force of supernatural like
Yeah.
terror. He is in total control of his own destiny.
Yeah.
That's admirable in a person.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Terry and Joey, and it's like they're just running from these forces. J.P. Monroe is trying to retain his own authority in his
Yeah.
own life, right? For better or worse.
He stands up to these forces and thinks that he can overcome them, right?
And you know, like he's definitely a scumbag.
Yeah.
Like he's got a few, you know, like after he has sex with the blonde girl, he's like, I'm J.P. Monroe. You're just some stupid little bitch. Give me back my shirt and get the fuck out
Yeah.
of my life.
But you gave me a rose.
Tomorrow, I'll give one to somebody else. Now get dressed and get out of here.
You shit. Who do you think you are?
I'm J.P. Monroe, right? You stupid little bitch. Give me back my shirt and get the fuck out of my life!
Who hasn't said that
Who-
before?
I was
like,
gonna say,
you know, like
Justin, do you want to turn Fly By Night into a dance club and then open your
called the
own-
Boiler Room.
The boiler.
The Boiler Room's a cool set.
Yeah.
That is a cool theme for
Yeah.
a nightclub. That's pretty fucking dope. They also get a little bit of a hint, like they do show you that he's kind of like a Frank, because like he's got some weird sexual predilections. Like there's some sexual artwork around his
Yeah.
place. He doesn't have typical sex. Like when he has sex with the one girl that we see, he like ties her up in a very bondage way.
Yeah.
So he is fitting that role. I don't know. I found him the most interesting. Is it weird that I keep relating to the people that just want to experience all there is to experience? I find them the most interesting. I find them the most relatable.
Do we need to check your hard drive?
Moving on. The series. Back to the things I don't like. We're answering questions that nobody asked.
Yeah.
You know, like this is probably the most human Pinhead you get in the whole series. Like Elliot Spencer, right? He's in the movie, like keeps popping up, and we get like his whole backstory is like, I was a soldier in World War I, Joey, and I thought after the war, I was really fucked up and I found this puzzle. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, Elliot Spencer. I don't care about any of this shit. I'm like, firstly, I hated the decision to make you a human. So I really don't want to see even more of that.
I found the monster within the box. It found the monster within me. For decades, I served hell with no memory of my former life.
I still don't understand.
Monster as I was bound by laws. Hell has its commandments too, you know. The box had to be opened to let me out. The truly innocent was safe. Until a friend released me.
Right.
Why are you showing us all this?
And I don't feel like we need to make Pinhead or any of the other Cenobites. We don't need to feel sorry for them, right? We don't need to humanize them. We don't need to be like, oh, okay, he was a human. He was a World War I soldier. Okay, all right. No. Leave him as the inexorable force that he was. We don't need to explain that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I wrote down, so like they're trying to just like, oh, this happened, and then I found the box, and it was 1921, and then and they give you all this like backstory and lore dump and all that shit. Even with all that, I have no fucking idea what was happening most of the time in the movie. There's so much shit that it's just nonsense. Like he's like, I'm not actually a ghost. I'm a soul. My evil half has escaped hell, and now he's running wild on Earth. You will constantly be asking yourself watching this, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, what is actually going on? And it becomes so infuriating by the third act. Yeah. Do you have anything to comment on that, Mark? You're looking at me like, I agree, but I don't. Is there something you agree or you don't agree? See, this is a podcast where one of us says a point and then the other person usually comments on that point.
I'm waiting until we get to one particular thing that I thought was just hilarious.
You just want to get to the stupid Cenobites.
Yeah, let's.
All right. So like there's nonsense shit going on and there's Joey has to fuse the two souls of Pinhead and that's how it kills him. Fuck all that shit. Mark wants to talk about probably the worst Cenobites in the entire fucking franchise. What the fuck were they thinking? Yeah. So the setup for this is cool. So I like the boiler room set.
Yep.
And it starts off with like Pinhead like literally explodes into the room, and the club is like packed full of people, and he starts like everyone starts freaking out and scattering, and he starts cackling, and it is at this exact moment. This is when Pinhead becomes a slasher villain.
Yep.
It's this moment in the franchise. It's part 3. It's an hour into the fucking runtime, and Pinhead just starts for no reason just slaughtering everyone.
Going off. Yep.
And it is a really cool scene. Yep. He massacres everyone. Everyone dies in this scene. Yep. And he also like I compared it to the scene at the end of Carrie, where Carrie just like locks everyone in the gymnasium and just fucking eviscerates everyone.
Yep.
It's that scene, but even more brutal.
They show it after, right? Like they do.
And everyone's dead.
Yeah. And they're not just dead, but some of them are like horrifically killed. Yeah. Like as you would imagine somebody with the abilities that Pinhead has to kill you creatively, it's all there. Yep.
So then Joey shows up, and for some reason, Pinhead's like, oh, she has the box. I got to get the box. And again, now he's acting like a slasher villain, and Joey's the final girl. So he's chasing after her. But he's like, oh, well, I better get some new recruits. So then apparently Pinhead can just make new Cenobites. This is a new ability they give him. Because before it was the Leviathan that did this. Right. But no, apparently Pinhead also has this power. And he just makes new Cenobites, and they all suck. They're all it's basically just like things that were in the room. That's what the Cenobites are. And so her cameraman Doc, he gets turned into a Cenobite that's literally just a guy. It's like a creature with a camera just jammed.
Just like a lens that comes out of his head.
It's just like he jammed a camera lens into his head, and he starts spewing one-liners.
Whoa, what the
Ready for your close-up, Joey?
Ready for your close-up, Joey? It's like, oh, so now we're doing
Now you're
one-liners.
Freddy, eh?
We're doing one-liners. Like, no, but the series at this point, like, the tone was never this.
Yeah.
It was like, they're now, and that's why it went higher for me, is it's so stupid that I was laughing.
Yeah.
Because it's so
Yeah.
dumb. It's terrible. We got a CD guy.
Yeah.
It's just like a guy.
I think he was the DJ.
Yeah, and he
So-
like makes robot noises. Well, if he's a DJ, shouldn't it have been records?
I
Like
don't know.
I don't know, but he makes robot noises for some reason. It's like, and he throws killer CDs. Which I had a thought. Wouldn't that have been a more effective anti-piracy campaign? Remember that, like in the early 2000s?
All those movies that had those warnings at the beginning.
Yeah, it should have been that. They should have just showed that shot of CDs, the Cenobite CD walking down, and like these kids being like, dude, let's download the first 2 seasons of Entourage, and then CD shows up, and they're like, that should have been the anti-piracy campaign. And then we got a big fat guy. What's his name, Mark? See if you know the name.
I don't know. I just call them the 3 Musketeers of Cenobites.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's more. There's technically 5.
There's a whole bunch of them, but yeah.
So then there's a big fat guy that's like, he breathes fire for some reason. He's called Barbie. So all of them have names because of the toys. That's why I know their names. And, oh, God.
I didn't know they called them that.
Yeah, Barbie. Probably the worst scene that showcases them is like, they're all chasing Joey, and Joey's just running down the street. And there's like this shot of the new Cenobites walking down the street, and they just look like such dorks. Like all the mystique from the first 2 films of the Cenobites, and more so the first, it's all gone.
All gone.
All gone.
All gone.
Because you just got these dorks walking
Yeah.
down the street that look like they're cosplaying as Cenobites.
Shit, get back! Get down, Lenny! Shit! Gasoline! Run!
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. And here's some trivia for you. When he said that, he was actually referring to the Hellraiser series as a whole. A lot of people don't know that.
You're just making that up. I wish you were making that up, or that you weren't making that up.
It's my own trivia
Yeah.
because after watching it, I'm like, oh, that's what that's
that's
in
it.
reference to. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget JP and Terry. See this rant you're making me go on because it's all it sucks so much. Terry is like, she's just bald and like has a cigarette in her throat.
Yeah. That was her thing, right? See, all the Cenobites now have a theme about them, right? Like some characteristic from their
Sure.
life that is now part of
Oh, so
their...
Barbie was a fire breather in his life.
Oh, I think wasn't he...
I think he was the bartender.
Yeah, something like that.
But that's still fire. It's
I don't know,
like, I
maybe-
guess he had alcohol.
Maybe he did like the fire breathing trick from...
And then JP, do you remember what JP is? It's hard to remember. He's only in like
no.
a couple shots. JP has pistons in the side of his
That's right.
head
There-
that go
yeah.
like.
Is it in his head or his neck? I can't remember what...
Who
yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
It's stupid.
But there's no point to them.
no.
They're just in there.
So
yeah.
literally, their design philosophy for the new generation of Cenobites was, let's take a thing
Yep.
and jam it into their head,
Right.
and that's their thing.
Yeah.
There's zero creativity
Right.
here.
This is definitely a can we sell figures initiative, right? Do you have is there a JP piston head figure?
There is not, but most of those, not that I'm aware of, but most of those Cenobites have action figures.
Yeah, you can get CD.
That's the only reason I know their names.
And Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can get Terry, but it's bad.
Yeah, so I I mean, there's no.
That's all I have left to say. I don't have it. I'm not. You know, some of these movies, I'm not going to just tell you the ending because it's just who
Yeah.
cares.
This one isn't better than part 2. It's just that this one knows what it wants to be, and it doesn't pretend to be serious until it gets stupid. Right? Like it just starts stupid, and it's stupid all the way through. And I kind of respect that. Like, you know, when you watch a movie and they know what they're trying to do, it makes for a better film. This is not serious. It is not a good continuation of part 1.
At moments, at times it's serious. I don't know. So my thing was, it was a mid pick for me because it's still a film that is made to a quality.
Yeah.
Like it still looks like a theatrical film.
Well, this is the first Miramax, I believe, right?
Maybe.
First entry by Miramax and not New World Pictures.
Okay,
so there's some money here.
There's money involved in this picture.
Yeah.
It looks a hell of a lot better than the later entries in the series, so that gave it bonus points. But then it's so dumb that it made me laugh. So I was like, okay, I'll bring you up a little bit. But it's not. I'm not putting it in the top
It's still
5.
had a lot of things I didn't like. Like I do not like going into the history of Pinhead. I don't want to know who these things are.
Stop reminding us they're people. I want to forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like obviously her father was also a soldier in the military, and that becomes it's almost at points it was kind of confusing. I'm like, are you trying to tell me her father's story, or is this Elliot Spencer's story?
There was a moment they didn't do this, thank God,
Yeah.
but there was a moment I thought that they were going to be like, Joey, you're my daughter.
Right, yeah.
And I would have been like, oh,
don't you dare.
fuck
Yeah,
right
don't
off.
you dare.
Yeah, which would have made no sense, but
I don't know if did you watch the unrated version?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just say
Apparently
sure.
there's an unrated version. I did not see that one. There's 3 more minutes. I don't know if they.
Oh, I think I did, and it's the version where they put. I watched the Arrow video Blu-ray release, and
Okay,
it's like
probably.
they put in the footage, but it was like it's so clearly, like it's so obvious when it's cut footage because it'll be like really nice, pristine HD Blu-ray, and then all of a sudden it cuts and it's like very fuzzy and standard def looking, like from a DVD transfer, and then it'll cut back, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that was a cut scene.
So it obviously didn't add some.
Most of it was just like extra dialogue.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember there being any cut deaths. Like if that's what you're thinking.
No.
Like yeah. So anything else you'd like to say about Hellraiser 3?
No, I don't think so.
That's a wrap.